Hello there, my friends. You're listening to Ebird Online, and Bilal has drummed up yet another reason not to have a family with Shaeeda.
Is it ever like when you wipe in
It doesn't.
and it got on your hand on accident? Ugh, that's nasty. It's like, oh my God, like how does this beautiful human being smell like this? You know?
To say that Bilal is grasping at straws is the understatement of the century. It literally blows my mind that his latest reason for not having a baby is the smell of poop. Oh, Bilal, you talk so much shit, surely it's an omnipresent smell. Yes, guys, it's 90 Day Fiance happily ever after. And we're going to be talking, of course, about Bilal and Shaeeda's quest for a baby. So as we all know, Shaeeda's on quite a circuitous route to happiness. And I'm genuinely beginning to wonder if she's ever going to get what she wants. So guys, as you know, I love to read all of your comments. But there's been one particular comment that's come up again and again. And that's the theory that Bilal has perhaps had a vasectomy. And one of my subscribers, Davy Boy, suggests the following. Bilal seems the type of guy to get a vasectomy and not tell the poor lady. And another subscriber, Rick Kent, is kind of on board as well. He says a lot of people seem to think Bilal has had a vasectomy. I think I'm starting to believe that too. He's exactly the kind of dirtbag that would keep that information from a woman with baby fever. And guys, I've got to tell you, I've been low-key ignoring this. Every time I see it on Twitter or in my comments section, I think there's just no way that he can actually get away with it. If there were fertility problems, then of course he would have to have tests and it would all come out into the open. But then something happened this week that really gave me pause for thought. There's something Bilal said, just one little thing he said, that made me think, Lord of mercy, the rumour might just be true. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video. But before we get into this week's action, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and a massive thank you to everyone who's subscribed thus far. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much for all of your comments. I always read them, and I reply to as many as I can. But if you've yet to do so, please consider subscribing, and also don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoy the video. Thanks guys, and so without further ado, I give you Bilal and Shaeeda. So guys, it's fair to say at this point that I've got a feeling that Shaeeda's going to come out of this marriage in a worse state than Amber Heard came out of her recent court case. On this contentious issue of the baby, things seem to be going from bad to worse for Shaeeda. But today, Bilal tells us he has an idea to help cheer Shaeeda up and to keep her mind off her fertility woes. He's going to give her a driving lesson. Bilal, as one of my subscribers pointed out, you're Shaeeda's biggest fertility problem, so anything that involves you is very unlikely to cheer her up. So they get into the car and Bilal says, today's the day. And Shaeeda said, the day for what? The day that you'll finally be straight with me? No, of course not, for it's Bilal we're talking about. But he said today's the day that you learn to drive in America. Oh Lord, Bilal always wants to do Shaeeda down. And she informs him that she's been driving for 17 years. And she says she can drive anywhere in the world. It's just that Americans drive on the wrong side of the road. And so that's what she needs to practice. And she said, I can drive, Bilal. And he said, which is why you've had so many accidents. How many accidents have you had, Shaeeda? And she said, I've had one accident, Bilal, one little accident. And Bilal looked at her and said, one? Yes, Bilal, one. Did she stutter? He really is such an infuriant. He always wants to minimise whatever Shaeeda can do in any way and every way he can. How she puts up with it, I'll literally never know. And so guys, they're on a car park and they swap seats in anticipation of Shaeeda driving, and she takes her Timberlands off. And Bilal said, what are you doing? And she said, I have a heavy foot and I don't want to drive too fast. Shaeeda, if it's true you have a heavy foot, please put your boot back on and use your heavy foot to kick Bilal in the ghoulies. And so Shaeeda starts driving and she puts the car into reverse. And Bilal said, be careful, there's a car right behind you. And she said, there isn't a car behind me. And he argued and said, it's directly behind you. Well, we can see through the window that it's at least 4 or 5 car lengths away from her. And guys, I knew he was going to be a drama queen. And a few minutes later, as she was about to park the car up, he snatched the steering wheel suddenly. And he said, be careful, you're just about to hit that rock. And Shaeeda maintained that she saw the rock and she wasn't about to hit it at all. Now guys, this is just another case of shoddy TLC. because the way they filmed this shot, we weren't able to definitively tell how close she was to the rock. You could tell that she was quite close, but I think it's very unlikely after 17 years of driving that she's going to drive into a stationary object on a car park. And by this point, Shaeeda's frustration was beginning to shine through, and she said, "I know how to drive." And Bilal said, "Just don't mess my car up." And he said, "You're starting to irritate me." Bilal, I hope she bloody is, because you started irritating us at the beginning of the previous season, the moment we saw your face. And so later on, after the driving session, they have a video calling with the fertility doctor, and the doctor's letting her know that at the moment the test for her eggs is still pending, and so he doesn't have anything really definitive to tell her yet about her fertility. "Oh really? Then doctor, just like Bilal before you, you're wasting my time." That's what I would have said, but whatevs. And the whole time while she's speaking to the doctor, Bilal's looking at the floor and looking around in a really disengaged manner. And the doctor asked, "Where are we at the moment with the whole issue of the baby?" And so Shaeeda said, "Well, we are trying." And Bilal said, "We have not been trying." "Guys, which is it?" And so Shaeeda said to producers, "Well, we usually use a condom, but we have had a little oopsie here and there. And so there is a potential chance that I am pregnant." But guys, guess what Bilal said to production?
We are not trying to have any children right now at all. Like 0%.
So correct me if I'm wrong. If you've had a couple of oopsies, you know there's a small percentage that she could be pregnant. I'm not saying you're actively trying, but you know it's possible, unless of course the rumours are true about your vasectomy. And guys, I've got to say, the surety with which Bilal spoke, 0%, leads me to the not unreasonable conclusion that he knows something that we don't know. So then Shaeeda says to the doctor, "I don't want to wait until I'm 40. Shaeeda, Bilal's right next to you. Tell him." The doctor can't help you. And the fact that Shaeeda consistently fails to pin Bilal down is getting, well, low-key ridiculous. But the doctor said you have to make a decision. It could be that your egg count is very low. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we have it. Wheel in the spokes number 2 from Bilal. What's next? Well, it would seem that Bilal's worried that Shaeeda gets really emotional. And he said to her, "You do get emotional, don't you?" "Bilal, everybody gets emotional. Are you saying that you're devoid of emotion? Is that what you're saying?" But he continued, "When we argue, she says I don't want to be with you anymore, and I don't want to be divorced with a child." Newsflash, Bilal, you already are. And he tells us this is the main reason for his hesitancy. I've got to give Bilal one thing. He's certainly innovative and diverse with his range of excuses for not wanting children. And don't worry, guys, there's more to come. Honestly, I don't know what to say. And so next time we see the couple, they sit down and decide to write a list of pros and cons. Guys, can the Ebird say the first con? Yeah, Bilal. And any child may have his personality. So Shaeeda begins, and she says as a pro, she'll be a better person, more empathetic, warm and caring. Shaeeda, where are you getting this information from? Bilal has not one, but 2 children, and he's none of these things. I'm going to have to strike that from the list. Bilal's next. He said he's going to do a con. What a surprise. This whole bloody marriage has been a con. But his con is added stress. Again, I'm going to have to strike this from the list for the simple reason that there is nothing as stressful as a 37-year-old woman who wants a baby and is yet to conceive. I've seen it myself firsthand. But when Shaeeda questions why is a baby stressful, he said, well, you won't get your full 10 hours sleep, Shaeeda. A baby will tell you when to get up, how much sleep you'll have. And it's at this point that he goes on and on about the poopy diapers. Ew, it smells so bad. But not as bad as your attitude, Bilal. Not as bad as your attitude. And then we have another con, the financial burden that a baby will be. But what's strange at this point is that Bilal leaps all the way to college. Bilal? That's 18 or 19 years away. And Bilal reminds Shaeeda that college isn't free in America, and I remind Bilal that you're not college educated, and according to you, you're the best thing that Allah put breath into. So a university education isn't a necessity. But Bilal, if you're genuinely worried about a college fund, I've got a little tip for you. You know the house that's been empty for God knows how many years, your former childhood home? Renovate it. Because apparently you're a property developer. and rent it out, save the money towards the college fund. And another con from Bilal, and he's worried that Shaeeda will run away from him. I'm fearful that you'll leave. I've been left in previous relationships. Bilal, look inward. You've been married twice and left twice. If you're always being left, think hard about the ways in which you might change. I genuinely believe that your ex-wife was at the end of her tether when she finally left you. And she said herself she couldn't cope anymore. That's because of you, Bilal. It's because of your mansplaining and your gaslighting and your supercilious personality. It is something you ought to consider. And Shaeeda tells production that she has no intention of leaving, but she said her major fear is that next year he'll still be saying the same old thing. And she said, I'm not going to let anybody waste my time. And that's where we leave things for this week. So what does the Ebird make from all of this? I think it's entirely okay if Bilal doesn't want to have kids. The problem, and the only problem I have with it, is that he should have made it very clear to Shaeeda. I don't think I'm exaggerating too much when I say if she's unable to have kids and she wastes too much time with Bilal, this will potentially ruin her life. He consistently insinuates he doesn't want to have kids, but the really tricksy thing he does is every so often he says, yeah, I do want kids, in time. He gives her 49 no's and 1 yes, and Shaeeda listens to the 1 yes. And so Bilal's giving every single reason under the sun for not wanting kids. He doesn't want the mess. His show home will be an absolute wreck. And then let's get on to finance. He doesn't like to pay for things that can't be flashed on the gram. He loves to buy somebody red-bottom shoes or monogram suitcases and designer suits, but you have to be able to see the money with Bilal. If you can't see it, to him it doesn't exist. We certainly saw him scrimp and scrape on that wedding. The female members of the family cooked all of the food. Shaeeda and her sisters decorated the house, and they literally had a whole wedding in a dining room. I think it was Bilal's express intention to have as cheap a wedding as humanly possible. And considering Muslims don't drink, it was never set to be a pricey affair anyway. Bilal's like a 19-year-old influencer, flexing for the gram. And Shaeeda said she doesn't want to waste her time. Shaeeda, your time's being wasted as we speak. Before you married Bilal, he made it fairly clear there was going to be a problem with you having a child immediately. And for some reason you thought you were clever by adding a toothless clause into your prenup. Son's lawyer. If you have to put something in a prenup, you're more than likely not in the right relationship. When you were in Trinidad and you wanted to discuss kids with Bilal, and he said, let's discuss it when you come over, you should have said, absolutely not. I'm not coming over until I know where I stand. But you failed to do this, and I can only blame you for that. But the biggest shock to come out of this week is when Bilal said 0% of having a child at the moment. It's possible he knows Shaeeda's ovulation chart, which is improbable considering she thought 21 days was a normal cycle. Or he's forgotten that they've had a couple of oopsies. Or there's some other, as yet unclarified reason why he's so sure there's 0% chance. Now far be it from me to say that he's had a vasectomy. On the balance of probability, I don't think he has. I don't think even Bilal would be that big a scoundrel. And I guess even if he has, you can actually get them reversed. Or you can have a child via IVF. But rumours are certainly rife. And if it is true, Bilal, I certainly would never want to be you out here on these internet streets. Twitter's gonna rip you a new one. So guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that he's had a secret vasectomy? It's entirely possible. Or do you think it's Shaeeda's fault and she should have picked up on the fact that he doesn't want kids? Or do you think he's just stringing her along? Guys, let me know what you think. And you know what? I may, just for clarification purposes, make a whole video of all the times that Bilal has prevaricated about the subject of having a baby, just so that we can see side by side how much evidence there was for Shaeeda that he didn't want a kid. If you'd like to see that video, let me know in comments. But in the meantime, if you haven't done so, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, smash the like button and press the notification bell. Thank you so much for listening. You've been listening to Ebird Online, and I bid you good day.